We're losing her.
A massive ship flips over in the Norwegian Channel.
There was a water inrush of about 2,000 tons within minutes.
What was the deck is now rapidly becoming the ceiling.
A desperate search for survivors become a race against time.
Someone is alive. Someone is trapped.
And sparks one of the most challenging investigations in Norwegian history.
The last note I make is, please make it fast. My colleague is dying.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं हूं आपका दोस्त, आपका होस्ट भांबरी, लेकर के आया एक नया एपिसोड आपके फेवरेट शो दुर्घटनाएं डिजास्टर्स का। ये शो जो आप हर हफ्ते सुनते हैं आपके फेवरेट इंटरनेट रेडियो स्टेशन रेडियो उड़ान पे, जो कि है अ फ्लाइट ऑफ लाइफ। और इस शो में हर हफ्ते हम चर्चा करते हैं किसी नई दुर्घटना, किसी नई डिजास्टर्स की जो घटित हुई थी इस धरती पर फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम। और आज के शो में हम चर्चा करेंगे द सिंकिंग ऑफ द रॉकनेस, Norway's west coast. Every day, thousands of ships navigate these channels and fjords. They are a crucial gateway to the busiest waterways in the world, and they are also extremely treacherous.
It's not so easy to navigate in these kind of waters. You have the fjords, and very often you have very, very narrow passages, and you must navigate very carefully.
19 जनवरी 2004, the massive cargo ship Rocknes is traveling to the winding channels of Norway out to the open seas. Captain Jan Uvik is in charge of the ship, और इस जहाज पे सवार हैं तकरीबन 30 लोग.
How's their progress, pilot?
His ship is loaded with state-of-the-art equipment, but to safely navigate these waters, the captain is relying on a local pilot, 41-year-old Verman Hellion.
Yeah, all good. So far, still on schedule, too.
Captain Barry Lusk is an expert in marine navigation. और वो ये बात अच्छी तरह जानते हैं कि कितना crucial role है एक pilot का.
The pilot knows that area like the back of his hand, and most captains often turn the entire ship over to the pilot, knowing full well that he knows a lot more about the journey that is going to be undertaken than the captain does.
Steady as she goes.
Hellion would be in charge of the navigation, and as they clear the hazardous channels, the pilot would be in charge of this trek of journey and until they reach the open ocean. और ये एक ऐसी चीज है जिसको उसने पिछले हजारों बार करा है ये. But the Rocknes is not an ordinary ship. इसकी लंबाई तकरीबन 166 meters है, and it is the world's most flexible Foxfire ships, and also known as the rock dumper.
She carried the rock on board in her cargo holds, and then she was able to, through a conveyor system and a pipe system that would extend out below the hull, to funnel rock very specifically in a very small area. And this is really good for securing subsea pipelines and laying protective rock in close to civil engineering projects.
All that heavy material is great for moving gravel, but it makes the ship tricky to steer.
The important challenges for piloting that ship was the quite poor visibility from the bridge. If you try to look what's ahead of the ship, you could actually not see anything else than the superstructure.
Captain Jan Magnafasa has piloted the Rocknes before, और वो जानते हैं कि कितना demanding job हो सकता है ये.
Get my exercise today.
For sure.
Imagine you're driving down the road and there's an enormous block right down the center line of the hood of your vehicle.
पायलट को तकरीबन 24 मीटर से ज्यादा चलना पड़ता है from one side of the bridge to the other to see what is lying ahead. जो चैनल उनको ओपन सी की तरफ लेके जाएगा, वो चैनल में वो पहुंचने ही वाले हैं, at a place called Battlstrama.
The channel is very narrow, so they must keep the center line of this channel in order to be safe.
That is easier said than done. Currents here are very unpredictable.
The current in Vatleströmmen is running in different directions, so it can be quite challenging just to keep the ship steady on the course.
ब्रिज से तकरीबन 8 स्टोरी नीचे जो क्रू है इस शिप का, वो मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं मैसिव 7300 हॉर्स पावर इंजन्स। वो ये बात जानते हैं कि पायलट को किसी भी क्षण अधिक पावर की जरूरत पड़ सकती है। And among them is Hubert Manningse, the ship's electrician.
Our crew, we are working in the same company for a long time. That's why we know each other, and they are good guys.
और मैगनसे की तरह ही most of the crew is from Philippines.
They're half a world away, and they spend 6, 8, 10 months away from their family, working aboard those ships.
The massive ship catches the attention of Gisela Menninwem and his wife.
My wife and I had just eaten dinner and saw Rocknes.
Wow. Look at the size of that thing. It's absolutely massive.
It's one of the biggest ships we saw pass by in Vatleströmmen. So we went out and just for taking a nice shot of it.
Who watched the ship pass through from their home on the shore.
Helm, give me 5 degrees port rudder.
Rocknes के ब्रिज पे जो है, जो पायलट है, is making his final turn into the channel. और कुछ अच्छा नहीं प्रतीक हो रहा है।
You feel that? It's listing.
The pilot noted a slight shift or list to starboard.
Let's see what we're dealing with.
Does it look like it's leaning over to one side?
Something is wrong. Something is definitely not right.
The tools in my workshop started to fall. So I go inside in the control room. I saw the third engineer.
Did you feel that? Yeah.
And I tell him we are listing.
The ship is rolling dangerously to starboard.
Sound the general alarm.
And it is not stopping.
I heard the SOS signal and starting to wondering what the hell is happening.
The vessel is listing. She's listing quickly.
Oh my God.
The boat starting to flip over. So I take up my camera again.
जितना वो झुक रहे थे, उतना ही लग रहा था कि वो शिप जो है पूरी तरह कैप्साइज हो जाएगी।
There is panic on the bridge.
Hard port!
पायलट ये बात सोचते हैं कि a sharp turn will level the ship, लेकिन वो भी काम नहीं आता है।
The captain very quickly realized that this is a life and death situation.
This is the captain.
We go out running to the ladder, going up, running.
जो इस जहाज का इंजन रूम था वो एकदम निचले तले में था जहाज के। जो इक्विपमेंट लूज था वो it is now flying around.
We are trying our best to look for the emergency exits because we want to be alive.
We are losing her. Mayday, mayday, mayday. We are turning over in the channel.
Loose equipment is flying around. They're literally trying to hold on to bits and pieces of equipment.
Go, go!
The pilot realized that it's just a few seconds and we will be capsized. So he just went directly for the door.
जो पायलट है वो ब्रिज विंग डोर से बाहर निकलते हैं और नीचे की तरफ जो क्रू है वो ढूंढ रहे हैं, भागते हुए ढूंढ रहे हैं एग्जिट्स को।
We are trying our best to climb vertical ladders, climbing the pipelines.
What was the deck is now rapidly becoming the ceiling.
Somehow the pilot holds onto the handrail over the side of the ship.
You run on the side of the ship to get up to the bottom of the ship before the ship was totally capsized.
He finds himself actually standing on what would have been underwater a minute ago, the hull of the ship.
जो जहाज है Rocknes, now it is completely upside down. कैप्टन और बाकी के ऑफिसर्स का कोई नामो निशान नहीं दिख रहा है. The pilot is the only one who made it off the bridge.
Within 4 minutes, 166 meters of ship with 30 people on board was now completely capsized and upside down.
जो रेस्क्यूअर्स होते हैं वो सर्च करते हैं ये बर्फीले पानी के अंदर फॉर सर्वाइवर्स. No one knows Mackenzie और उनके 2 colleagues are trapped inside the ship.
What I did on that time is just pray. I pray that, Lord, if you are going to take me, please guide and help my family.
And their oxygen is running out. और उनकी जो एक ही आशा है वो ये है कि शायद कोई ना कोई उन्हें ढूंढ ले before it is too late. 166 meters की जो Rocknes जहाज था, it has capsized in a Norwegian channel.
It must have been an unbelievable sight. An enormous ship upside down in the fjord, in front of everybody, in front of people's houses. They saw this actually go on.
आधे घंटे के अंदर ही 7 survivors are pulled out from these frigid waters. 2 और जो कि उनमें से एक पायलट भी था इस जहाज का, they are airlifted from the hull of the ship. लेकिन जो बाकी 21 लोग थे वो अभी भी मिसिंग बताए जा रहे हैं.
Okay. Let's see what we got.
Live Linda जो है, he is in charge of the dive rescue team. उनके पास कितने ही सालों का एक्सपीरियंस है, लेकिन ये जो नजारा है उन्होंने भी कभी नहीं देखा था.
It was big, totally unexpected. This was an event we never planned for.
Now they've got to figure out, is anybody trapped in underneath in the hull? Can we see anybody?
जो रेस्क्यूअर्स हैं वो शिप का सर्कल करते हैं और आवाजें सुनने की कोशिश करते हैं कि कहीं कोई अंदर ट्रैप तो नहीं है शिप के.
They may be hurt, they may be injured, the water is cold.
I think we got survivors. We're knocking. Show me.
A faint sound जो है प्रोवाइड करती है a flicker of hope.
Someone is alive. Someone is trapped.
ह्यूबर्ट मैंगनसे और उनके 2 कोलीग जो हैं वो ट्रैप हैं एक एयर पॉकेट में नियर द इंजन रूम, जो कि एक समय शिप का निचला तल था वो अब टॉप में आ गया है.
I'm holding the pipes, making some bang using this screwdriver. We hope that the rescuer can rescue us.
They've managed to survive flying equipment, and one of them has a broken arm, and the 3 of them are clinging on to a ladder.
जब शिप फ्लिप हुई थी अपसाइड डाउन तो जो उनके एस्केप रूट्स थे वो पानी से भर गए थे.
We tried to escape, but the water is starting to go up. We lose hope already because we don't have emergency exits to go.
Somehow they got lucky. उनको थोड़ी सी एयर पॉकेट मिल गया था in the propeller shaft. ये तीनों इस बात को नहीं जानते थे कि उनकी ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई कितनी देर तक लास्ट करेगी या कितनी देर बाद पानी ऊपर तक भर जाएगा.
Any idea where the sound was coming from?
I don't know. It echoed all over. You couldn't hear a thing.
लिंडा को अब ये फिगर आउट करना है कि वो आखिरकार वो आवाज किस तरफ से आ रही थी.
The challenge was that knocking reverberates.
We have 166 meters of steel. It's like an echo chamber. So somebody banging, we're not sure where they're banging from.
Okay, let's make a plan. I think our best bet is here. This section.
लिंडा ये बात जानते हैं कि अगर कोई सर्वाइवर्स होंगे तो वो वर्क एरियाज में होंगे नियर द इंजन रूम. But time is running out.
It's very difficult to breathe there because of the fumes, some chemicals and drops of oils which are very hot.
They're breathing this stuff in. So it's critical for the rescue team now to get these people out as soon as possible.
A massive ship flips over in a Norwegian channel और एक desperate search शुरू होती है survivors के लिए और बन जाती है race against time and it sparks one of the most challenging investigations in Norwegian history. लिंडा की जो टीम मेंबर्स होते हैं वो हल के आसपास ही चलने शुरू कर देते हैं जिससे कि जो आवाज आ रही है उसका सोर्स पता लग सके उन्हें और अब उनके सामने एक नई प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है.
Very unstable. Repeat, very unstable.
There's anywhere from 3 to 4 knots of current moving through the channel. So the Rocknes is actually moving. She's still moving bodily in the water, even though she's upside down.
और जो the drifting wreck है वो कभी भी डूब सकता है और लिंडा को अब एक टफ डिसीजन लेना है.
Understood. Let's get our guys out of there ASAP.
Copy that. Standing down.
और वो रेस्क्यू को डाल देते हैं ऑन होल्ड पर.
The danger was that the ship was going to sink and take all the rescue workers with it.
We can't do anything until we secure the ship. It's too dangerous.
और एक ही रास्ता है उनके सामने to push the 25,000 ton ship ashore to move it out of the currents. और उनको ये बहुत ही सावधानी से करना पड़ेगा नहीं तो वो एयर पॉकेट जो है उसको रिलीज कर देंगे जो कि शिप को डुबो नहीं शिप को अफ्लोट रखने में मदद कर रहा है और वही एयर पॉकेट है जो कि सर्वाइवर्स को भी जिंदा रख रहा है. जो डिले है बहुत ही एगनाइजिंग है और सर्वाइवर्स को अभी कुछ नहीं पता है कि आखिरकार क्या हो रहा है बाहर.
We keep on making some noise. We shouted, but they leave us.
It stopped. It stopped.
After 2 long hours, the Rocknes is secured to shore.
Help! We're here!
और लिंडा की टीम जो है फिर से एक्शन में आ जाती है.
Hear that? Heard that.
I make a bang every second
We're here!
to respond the rescuer.
Help! Land out there! Help! We're here!
Until we coincided.
There. We're coming.
Then we were happy that the rescuers locate us. And that's the time we are thinking that we will be rescued.
You're gonna have to do this nice and careful.
एक स्टील की लेयर है जो कि बीच में आ रही है between the survivors and the rescuers. लेकिन लिंडा को बहुत ही ध्यानपूर्वक आगे बढ़ना पड़ेगा.
They need to be sure they're not cutting into a fuel tank or a place that could be dangerous. Are they going to blow up something?
और उन्होंने बिल्कुल एक सही स्पॉट को काटना पड़ेगा उन्हें.
If we open the ship in the wrong place, the air from inside would escape and the ship would sink.
We're gonna drill a hole. Then let's take a look. Good.
जो हवा ट्रैप हो गई है वही एक चीज है जो कि रॉकनेस को डुबो नहीं रही है और जो कि तीनों सर्वाइवर्स को भी जिंदा रखे हुए है. और एक होल को कट करने में हो सकता है ये फ्लडिंग हो जाए उस जगह में, एयर पॉकेट की जगह में, और जो है तीनों आदमी जो है एस्केप करने से पहले ही डूब जाए। जो हल को पंचर किया है वहां से प्रेशराइज एयर एस्केप करने लग जाती है, और जो हाउलिंग साउंड होता है इट एड्स अ न्यू कॉम्प्लिकेशन। जो रेस्क्यूअर्स हैं वो अब सुन नहीं पा रहे हैं जो सर्वाइवर्स है वो क्या कह रहे हैं, और उन्हें ये देखना पड़ेगा कि ये एरिया सेफ भी है कट करने के लिए कि नहीं।
When I saw my two colleagues, which are very weak, too much blood coming out here, the last note I make is, please make it fast. My colleague is dying.
We're out of time. We gotta go now.
लिंडा जो है अपने टीम मेंबर्स को कट करने का आदेश देते हैं, और किसी को इस बात की श्योरिटी नहीं है कि आगे क्या होगा।
All that air, that trapped air, is now pressing up on the deck. Once they cut this hole, air is going to push out. Water may start to increase in terms of flowing up through.
Hurry!
Let's get him out.
Go on.
और आखिरकार तीनों आदमी को निकाल दिया जाता है, और वो भी सिर्फ सेकंड्स पहले, बिफोर द कंपार्टमेंट स्टार्ट्स टू फ्लड इन। और वो आखिरी क्रू मेंबर थे रॉकनेस के जो कि जिंदा मिले थे।
That sight and the look on his face, I'll never forget it.
I say thank you to them, and the rescuer said to me that, Hubert, you are lucky, you survived, and I am very, very happy for that.
सारी रात सर्च करने के बाद जो है 12 क्रू मेंबर ही बचा लिए जाते हैं फ्रॉम दिस रॉकनेस, और बाकी 18 इंक्लूडिंग द कैप्टन आर डेड।
For the 18 casualties, there were many open questions on behalf of their family members. How did this happen?
रॉकनेस की जो डेडली कैप्साइज हुई थी उसके पता करने के लिए कि आखिरकार क्यों हुआ था ये सब, उनके ऊपर प्रेशर आ रहा है फ्रॉम द फैमिली मेंबर्स। A day after the capitalization of the Rocknes, the police driver complete a grim task. Before the ship is towed out of the channel, they have to remove and find the bodies of their missing crew members. 18 लोगों की मौत हुई थी यहाँ पे, और नॉर्वेजियन पुलिस जो है पता करना चाहती है कि क्यों। बर्गिन्स असिस्टेंट चीफ ऑफ पुलिस is in charge of the investigation, और उनका नाम है स्वैन एरिक कार्वोर।
The police are concerned about what is the cause of the disaster. Is there any criminal issues here concerning the navigation, or concerning the cargo handling of the ship, or other issues?
इस डिजास्टर के बहुत सारे विटनेस हैं, इंक्लूडिंग द एस्टिमुलेंट।
I've got the whole thing on my camera.
कई बहुत सारी स्टिल फोटोग्राफ्स भी ली गई थी इस ट्रेजेडी की। As the massive ship flips over 180 degrees, 3 अलग अलग देशों से मरीन इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स लगाए जाते हैं इस केस में टू फाइंड आउट एक्चुअली ये हादसा क्यों हुआ था। और वो राइट अवे जो है दे आर स्ट्रक बाय द स्पीड ऑफ द डिजास्टर।
So odd. How does a ship this big capsize so fast?
Hans Jokermoller is a marine surveyor and a consultant on this case.
I learned that the ship capsized within 4 minutes. And this is very seldom. Normally a ship shouldn't capsize within 4 minutes.
ये बात तो एकदम क्लियर है कि रॉकनेस जो है इट हिट समथिंग ऑन द साइड जिसकी वजह से वो इतनी जल्दी डूबी, लेकिन ये बात क्लियर नहीं थी कि इस होल से हाउ डिड इट ट्रिगर ऑफ द डिजास्टर।
The bottom of the ship, the starboard side of the ship was ripped open for about 20 meters.
इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स ये बात कहते हैं कि जो 20 मीटर का होल हुआ होगा शिप में, उसकी वजह से 2400 टन पानी अंदर घुसा होगा।
It's a lot of water, but for a ship like this, 166 meters long, is not so much.
The hole is not certainly big enough to trigger the capsize, and there must be more to the story.
So at first my idea was that there was something wrong with the stability of the vessel.
Investigators को ये बात पता लगती है कि Rocknes जो है, it was modified and relaunched just 8 months before.
The ship was a former bulk carrier and redesigned as a rock dumper.
When the ship was converted, there was 3,000 tons of iron castings added to the deck of that ship, which is a huge amount of weight.
Because of additional structure on board the vessel, they altered the complete stability of the vessel.
क्या ये बात पॉसिबल है कि उसका टॉप हैवी डिजाइन जो है वही कारण बना उसका कैप्साइज होने में, और वो भी इतनी जल्दी? अगर शिप के कंप्यूटर्स निकाले जाके उनका स्टडी किया जाए तो वही एक इकलौता तरीका है ये सब जानने के लिए.
I think it was critical to have this information from the computers because they can restore.
The delicate electronics has been soaked in sea water. और ये बात का किसी को पता नहीं है कि क्या पता वो डेटा सरवाइव भी करा है कि नहीं किया है. और जैसे कि इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स वेट कर रहे हैं फॉर द सैल्वेज ऑपरेशन टू स्टार्ट, बर्गन पुलिस ये बात का खोजबीन कर रही है कि क्या जो पायलट थे वही रिस्पॉन्सिबल तो नहीं है इस ट्राजेडी के.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
Our interrogation of him was very formal, and we gave him the formal status of suspect.
Okay. Tell us everything you can remember. Start when you got on board, right up until the capsizing.
Because he was the only survivor from the bridge, he could provide some very vital information.
I knew the area well. I wasn't worried.
How was visibility from the bridge?
The visibility wasn't great, but I could handle it.
पायलट जो है पुलिस को बताते हैं कि they started out like any other on the Rocknes.
Give me 5 degrees port rudder.
5 degrees port.
लेकिन हाल ही हम बताते हैं पुलिस को कि एक प्रॉब्लम थी, one bit of trouble था.
Give me 5 degrees port rudder.
5 degrees port.
Earlier in the voyage, he had noticed the Rocknes tilting towards one side.
You feel that?
Yeah, it could be the cargo.
The conclusion was that it must have been some of the cargo that have slid over to the starboard side and make this list permanent.
On this trip, the Rocknes was loaded with more than 23,000 tons of gravel in its 6 bulkheads, and each one taller than a 4-storied house. और अगर वो evenly नहीं भरा गया होगा gravel, so it would have caused the ship to tilt on one side and its permanent listing.
It's a pretty small list. We should be okay.
Aliam के मुताबिक the captain was not worried and they continued on the journey.
Steady as she goes.
और अगले 6 घंटे तक there was no further sign of trouble. और उसके बाद Rocknes started its last.
And all of a sudden, they hear scraping.
They could feel some vibrations in the ship.
We've hit something.
Did you feel that?
Yeah.
Think we hit bottom.
Yeah, I think we touched bottom.
You never want to hear that as a pilot.
Running aground is one of the most serious things the ship can do.
Close watertight doors.
The captain at that time felt that they might be able to limit the damage to the ship by closing some watertight doors. It never occurred to the captain or anyone else on that bridge that a capsizing activity was going to take place.
Let's see what we're dealing with.
वो जानते थे कि ये बहुत ही सीरियस मैटर है, लेकिन जो Rocknes थी, it was designed with watertight bulkheads, और जो कि उन्हें कुछ समय देगा इस त्रासदी से डील करने के लिए. हेलियम के मुताबिक उन्होंने और कैप्टन ने बहुत ही स्टेप्स लिए थे टू सेव द शिप जल्दी से.
However, she starts to develop a much more pronounced list to starboard.
हेलियम ने जो है ये लिस्ट को कवर अप करने के लिए जितने दूसरी साइड शिप कर सकते थे उतने उन्होंने शिप को करा दूसरी डायरेक्शन में, लेकिन उससे भी कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ। द शिप कंटिन्यू टू टर्न और शिप जो है रोल करने के लिए कंटिन्यू रही।
For those on board, it must have been a terrifying experience. The pilot, he realized that there was nothing he could do to save the ship.
Mayday! Mayday! Mayday!
So he just went directly for the door.
And that split-second decision saved his life. और अब पुलिस ये पता करना चाहती है कि क्या वो पायलट जो है responsible है for running the ship aground.
From your perspective, you were on course?
I was on course.
हेलियम जो है adamant है कि उन्होंने कोई गलत नहीं किया था।
There was a shoal out there that's not on any chart.
और ये एक बहुत ही alarming prosperity और ये बहुत ही alarming possibility थी।
We'll look into that.
I'm a policeman and I'm not a pilot and I'm not a captain, but I was stunned about this.
Thank you for coming, gentlemen.
So this ended up as a main issue for our investigation.
दूसरी तरफ पुलिस जो है they are trying to prove one of the two equally disturbing theories. या तो पायलट गलत है जो कि वो बोल रहे हैं he is directly on course, और दूसरी पॉसिबिलिटी ये है कि the chart of the busiest corridor in Norwegian Channel is wrong. और इसी कारण से कितनी और जानें जो है डेंजर के बीच में आ रही हैं। इस कैप्साइजिंग के तकरीबन 2 महीने बाद जो है अपसाइड डाउन जो है wreckage is towed to port और शुरुआत होती है उसके बाद साल्वेज ऑपरेशन की। Was the disaster caused by the pilot error or the top two heavy ship was simply unstable? Investigators ये बात जानते हैं कि शायद जो इन सवालों के जवाब हैं they would be stored on the ship's computers. कुछ तो डाइवर्स के द्वारा रिकवर कर दिए गए हैं, लेकिन बाकी कुछ तो they are still in the upside down hull of the ship. Computer engineer Oibert Neeland is in charge of the data recovery.
This is definitely a race against time. Salt will start to kind of corrode the drive really hard, and then it gets really difficult to get the data out.
लेकिन इससे पहले कि वो घुसे अंदर wreckage में, the Rocknes has to be turned upside down. और इस प्रोसेस को बोला जाता है par buckling, which is sometimes done on the ship this size.
It's really a massive operation to turn this big boat around, and it's really dangerous as well.
और इसको अपसाइड डाउन करने के लिए बहुत सारी टग बोट्स यूज की जाएंगी और 900 टन की एक फ्लोटिंग केन भी इस्तेमाल में लाई जाएगी। लेकिन इसको दौरान अगर कोई विंच स्नैप कर जाती है या केबल जो है अटक जाती है तो it will cause disaster.
They don't want the vessel to keep going and roll back over again. They don't want to hurt or kill anybody. This is a very risky operation.
It takes 2 days to roll the big ship over. और उसके बाद ही जो next phase of operation है वो शुरू हो सकता है और वो है recovering the ship's computers. And each one has a different story to tell. जो navigation data होगा वो reveal करेगा कि ship किस जगह पे exactly off course गई और क्या पायलट इसके लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल है कि नहीं, और जो लोडिंग डेटा होगा वो बताएगा कि शिप स्टेबल थी कि नहीं थी। And it takes repeated trips to the ruined bridge to get all the computers. Turik Stemra is one of the investigators who went aboard.
I felt a bit like I was trespassing. I knew what had happened in there and I shouldn't have been there.
रबल के नीचे दबा हुआ टीम को मिल जाता है जो कि वो ढूंढ रहे थे।
We finally found the right computers.
Do you need some more light?
It was almost unbelievable how much was left.
वो ये जानते हैं कि ये बेस्ट चांस है to know what exactly went happen moments before the disaster. और कौन अगर कोई है तो रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस त्रासदी। कंप्यूटर्स जो थे बहुत ही रफ शेप में थे एंड दे आर रश टू नीडल्स लैब जहाँ पे कि डेलिकेट वर्क ऑफ डाटा रिकवरी कुड स्टार्ट।
You are trying whatever you can with all your tools and all your knowledge in order to bring this drive back to life. If we make something wrong, the hard drive may die.
Neelam's team carefully dries out the electronics, cleans also, और उसके बाद काम शुरू होता है कि डिटरमाइन करने में कि कितना डेटा सरवाइव किया है।
If you imagine putting a puzzle together, the number of pieces on a hard drive, it's millions, millions, and millions.
Reconstructing the data takes weeks and it works.
That was quite a moment for the team.
Great work.
We then knew that we could provide the data to figure this out.
With the newly discovered data in hand, the team जो है कोई टाइम नहीं वेस्ट करती है in piecing the evidences together. Pilots जो है स्पेशल मैप्स एंड चार्ट्स यूज करते हैं जिससे कि पानी का असली गहराई का भी पता लग सके और ये उनको सिर्फ सेंटर में रखने में मदद करता है जिससे कि वो नीचे से कोई डेप्थ जो है कम ना हो जाए साइड से। इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स जो है स्टडी करते हैं शिप की सारी प्रोग्रेस बिफोर इट रैन अग्राउंड। डिड द पायलट स्टीयर द रॉकनेस डेंजरसली ऑफ कोर्स, और क्या उनकी जो थ्योरी थी पायलट की कि जो भी नीचे था इट वाज नॉट मार्क्ड ऑन हिज चार्ट्स, उस थ्योरी को प्रूव करेगा वो।
Look at all these course changes.
And they immediately noticed something unusual. पायलट ने कई छोटे-छोटे कोर्स करेक्शंस किए थे instead of the larger turns.
Coming up on the shallows. Let's go 5 degrees port rudder, please.
और उनके फाइनल टर्न में जो था his strategy seems to backfire.
Fair. Looks like he started his turn too late.
जो लेट टर्न उन्होंने लिया था पायलट ने, उस वजह से जो थी रॉकनेस जो थी तकरीबन 23 मीटर सेफ पैसेज से बाहर निकल गई थी, लेकिन वो ये एक्सप्लेन नहीं करता कि क्यों, क्या पायलट रेकलेस हो रहा था या कुछ और भी घटित हो रहा था ऑन द फाइनल मोमेंट्स बिफोर द डिजास्टर। The navigation data has been recovered from the Rocknes, और उससे पता लगता है कि शिप जो थी dangerously shallow waters में थी just moments before the disaster, और इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स जानना चाहते हैं कि किस कारण।
You ready?
टूरिस्ट एमरेस ये जानती हैं कि हो सकता है कि जो बैडली लोडेड कार्गो होगा उस वजह से भी ये सब हुआ होगा, और उस कारण से शिप अगर अनस्टेबल हो गई होगी तो ये बात सामने आती है कि पायलट जो था क्यों टर्न लेने में मुश्किलात पेश आ रही थी उनको।
In order to be able to assess the stability of Rocknes at the time of the accident, we needed to know exactly how she was loaded.
The ship was unstable, then there should have been a warning sign for the crew.
We knew that they had procedures whereby they should calculate the stability before they left port.
Stop right there.
इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स के सामने ये बात आती है कि क्रू को वाकई में ही लोडिंग वार्निंग मिली थी when the ship was still at port. स्टेबिलिटी वार्निंग मिली थी उनको।
The Rocknes stability calculator showed us the damage stability. It said critical.
The list was serious, around 14 degrees.
That means that the ship is not correct with the stability. Then you shouldn't sail with a ship like this.
The uneven cargo weighed down on the side of the ship, triggering an instability warning for the crew. अगर वो वहीं के वहीं फिक्स हो गई होती तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी।
The danger with this is that when the vessel started to maneuver to the seaway, then the cargo is liable to shift or move to one side towards the other.
ये बहुत ही शॉकिंग डिस्कवरी थी। Instead of leveling the cargo by hand,
problem with the load port was that the conveyor belt arm and the system for delivery wasn't long enough, so most of the cargo ended up to one side.
Investigators का ऐसा मानना है कि क्रू ने जो है वो लिस्ट को ठीक किया था by pouring in tons of waters in the starboard's ballast tanks until the ship leveled out. और ये बहुत ही sloppy fix था.
The danger with this is that when the vessel started to maneuver to the seaway, then the cargo is liable to shift or move to one side towards the other.
At some point before the ship enters the Battlestormer's channel, the cargo shift था.
It's listing.
And the ship जो है, it start listing towards the starboard side. और इस कारण से बन जाती है वो top heavy ship difficult to control.
If you are sailing on a ship that is listing when you are making turns, she will start turn faster. You could actually lose control over the ship.
और अगर ship जो है sharp turns लेती है, तो जो unstable cargo है वो और shift कर जाएगा और जो है ship जो है और starboard side list करना शुरू कर देगी. The pilot decides to make a wider turn.
5 degrees more, port rudder.
वो रॉकनेस को सिर्फ 23 मीटर दूर करते हैं from the ship's shipping lane ये टर्न लेने के लिए. उनका ऐसा मानना भी है कि शायद यहाँ पे पानी जो है सेफ होगा. पुलिस ड्राइवर्स जो थे उन्होंने नीचे तल का भी मुआयना किया है to find out the scene of the crime. वो एग्जैक्ट स्पॉट जहाँ पे कि रॉकनेस ran aground.
If you have a murder, you could lock down the apartment and secure it that way. Here we have the crime scene, 2 soccer fields long. You can't put a police cordon around it. So that is a very challenging aspect from the police side of you.
और एक हफ्ते के अंदर ही पुलिस वो ढूंढ लेती है जिसको वो तलाश कर रहे हैं.
Bingo.
The divers found a rock about 20 kilos, and you had the red paint on it. It's similar to the red paint on the bottom of the Rocknes.
जो पत्थर है उनको मिलता है थोड़ी दूर पे ही मिलता है जिस जगह से Rocknes went off course. और ये हो सकता है फाइनल पीस ऑफ द पजल होगा जिसके कारण 18 लोगों की जान गई इस हादसे में.
Let's get this to the lab.
और लैब में ये बात का प्रूव हो जाता है कि जो पत्थर के ऊपर पेंट लगा है वही पत्थर का जो पेंट है वो रॉकनेस के हल पे भी सेम ही पेंट है.
So it was evident. Here is the point where the ship has struck ground.
The impact point is 23 meters outside the safe point. लेकिन पायलट के मुताबिक उनके चार्ट में ये बात नहीं बताई जा रही थी to avoid the shallow waters.
There was a shoal out there that's not on any chart.
इन्वेस्टिगेटर जो हैं वो चार्ट को भी मुआयना करते हैं, स्टडी करते हैं और वहाँ पे भी उनको एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट डिस्कवरी मिलती है उनके हाथ में. The shoal was added when the charts were updated 9 years ago, but the change was small and it was very hard to see. और जो लोकल पायलट्स थे उनको कभी भी नोटिफाई नहीं किया गया था इस चेंज के बारे में.
The Norwegian Hydrographic Office did not produce a notice to mariners that a new shoal has been found and that you are to make a hand correction to your chart to show this danger.
This is the main ship line into Bergen. There's a lot of ships sailing here. Why didn't you notify the mariners, the captains and the pilots?
It should have been broadcast or made aware to all the pilots who were involved in the operation of that area. It's something that was an oversight. 18 men lost their lives as a result.
कितने महीनों की इन्वेस्टिगेशन के बाद पुलिस और मरीन इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स ये बात का पता लगा पाते हैं कि the wreckage of Rocknes is a result of series of errors.
I would say more or less everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
It begins when the cargo is not properly leveled out.
Good to go?
It shifts while they are at sea.
You feel that?
Could be the cargo.
The ship begins listing and the pilot cannot make sharp turns which he wants to do so.
Give me 5 degrees port rudder.
Not realizing the dangers, he makes his turn late and thereby going into the nearby shallows.
There was a water inrush of about 2,000 tons within minutes.
Hard port!
लेकिन कुछ सेकंड के बाद ही जो स्टारबोर्ड का तरफ का हल है, it is ripped open by the rocks. और जब पानी घुसने लगता है अंदर शिप के, तो there is no way to stop the capsizing of this massive ship.
The moment the Rocknes hit the rocks, she was doomed.
The unusual high speed of the disaster also makes it difficult to escape. और 18 crew members की जान चली जाती है इस tragedy में.
But of course, he have to carry it with him for the rest of his life.
जो मेरीन अथॉरिटीज होती हैं, उनकी फाइनल रिपोर्ट में ऐसा रिकमेंडेशन आता है कि जहाज जो है जब लोड कर रहा होता है पोर्ट पे, तब ऐसा कुछ हो कि वो सही तरीके से लोड किया जा सके. वर्मन हेलियम जो है, he is never charged and he continues to work as a pilot. इस हादसे के बाद जो बैटल स्ट्रांसा पैसेज है, it is dredged to make it safe for the big ships, but it is the story of survival that many remember it as best.
Will to survive by these 3 Filipinos hanging on in the dark, banging and banging and banging until they get a response, and the efforts of the rescue team.
Take my hand.
To keep at it till they got these guys out. It's a remarkable story of survival, but also a remarkable story of dedication on the part of the rescue team.
When I think about Rocknes, my tears fall for the 18 men who are my colleagues, who lost their lives. I miss them, and I pray for their souls.
तो दोस्तों, इसी के साथ खत्म होता है हमारा आज का एपिसोड, आपके फेवरेट शो दुर्घटनाएं डिजास्टर्स का. ये शो जो आप हर हफ्ते सुनते हैं और आज भी सुन रहे थे आपके फेवरेट इंटरनेट रेडियो स्टेशन रेडियो उड़ान पे, जो कि है अ फ्लाइट ऑफ लाइफ. और आज के शो में हमने चर्चा करी थी 19 जनवरी 2004 की एक घटना, सिंकिंग ऑफ द रॉकनेस. अगर आप मेरे शोज को कोई फीडबैक देना चाहते हैं तो आप मुझे मेल सेंड कर सकते हैं. मेरी मेल आईडी है bhambri.r@gmail.com, यानी कि bhambri.r@gmail.com. आप हमारे फेसबुक पेज को भी लाइक कर सकते हैं और फेसबुक ग्रुप को भी ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं हमारे. अगर आपको हमारे को फीडबैक देना तो हमारी वेबसाइट www.radioudan.com पे जाके भी फीडबैक फॉर्म भर के फीडबैक दे सकते हैं मुझे इस शो का. तो दीजिए इजाजत मुझे, यानी कि आपके दोस्त आपके होस्ट भामरी को समेटने की. आज का शो मिलूंगा मैं आपसे अगले हफ्ते ठीक इसी दिन, ठीक इसी समय और ठीक इसी इंटरनेट रेडियो स्टेशन रेडियो उड़ान पे, जो कि है अ फ्लाइट ऑफ लाइफ. और करेंगे हम उस शो में चर्चा किसी नई दुर्घटना, किसी नए डिजास्टर्स की. तो नमस्कार, शुभ रात्रि, शब खैर, गुड नाइट, गॉड ब्लेस.